Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Chat. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we're discussing TNA Wrestling and the huge monumental news that dropped. The fact that TNA is going to be moving as of January 15th, 2026 to AMC Network. Holy crap, this is mind-blowing. I mean, this is just... I didn't think it was possible, I gotta tell you, it's just mind-blowing that the fact that they're gonna be on a major cable network. This is insane. Like, if you have followed TNA for the past 10 years or so, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been a long, hard road to this point, and at times, I have been doubtful, I've had my doubts as to whether or not they were ever going to grow, really. Sometimes it seemed like they were just happy being where they are, and the dinky little Access TV station that nobody really watches, It was frustrating, And the fact that, they didn't seem like they cared to grow at times. It was like they were just stagnant at times, like they didn't try and make any changes to do things differently, to try and get better, to make the product look better and sound better, with better picture quality, better camera work. The production value was real rough, man. And it was sad to see, because they have such great talent in TNA. A lot of my favorite wrestlers are in TNA Wrestling, They always have great talent, great storylines, great creative, Maybe not the past couple of years, but, I usually enjoy their storylines, and they always have great matches and great star power, great talent. Yeah. And the fact that they can never seem to move forward was so frustrating at times. They never seem to make any changes to do anything differently. So, once they got rid of Scott D'Amore, big changes seem to be happening, quite rapidly, and it's been great to see. And shocking, really. So, say what you will about Carlos Silva, but he is the man out there making the moves and making things happen. And so God bless him, Thank you, Carlos Silva. I never thought this would be possible. Man. To see TNA on a major cable network where so many more eyes are going to be on the product, and, man. And they know damn well that they have to step it up in a lot of ways, so there's definitely a lot of changes I would like to see from them. Obviously, the number one being you have to make sure that production value is top-notch, professional level. We can't be screwing around anymore. We gotta take this 100% serious, because now TNA has arrived. They are officially in the game, We could see them eventually take on, like, AEW and stuff, They could be legit competition at some point, depending on how successful they are, of course. So if the program ends up being very successful, that could be a game changer. This is a game changer, no question about it. Because, let's face it, they were maybe the number 3, but kind of definitely a distant number 3, if that, because some might even say that New Japan is number 3, or NWA, or, but now, no question about it, they're instantly number 3, and that gap could be closing soon, depending on how successful they do, because they're on a major network now. People are going to see the product, and people are going to be really excited to see that first show. I'm telling you, they better bring it. They better bring it big time. And Carlos Silva knows that. He knows full well that that first show has to be a complete banger. You know, there's got to be something huge. You know, and I've heard a lot of people say that probably they need to have Frankie Kazarian, who is now the TNA World Champion, take on Mike Santana, and gotta have Santana get that belt back, and get his revenge, because the fact that Santana lost like that left such a sour note in so many people's eyes, and I agree with that. I mean, I think that was a really bad decision. I mean, come on. I mean, I love Frankie Kazarian. I am actually really happy that he's TNA World Champion, because I've been hoping for a long time that he would be. And I'm sure he is going to have it very long, but at least he's going to have it until the January 15th show, at least. So I was a little worried there, because they had a final resolution. They had him taking on JDC, and who's kind of on his retirement tour, and what a way to end his career, finally win, because he had never won a world championship in wrestling, that I know of anyway. So I was a little bit scared that he might actually win, because I don't think anyone wants to see JDC as the world champion going into that January 15th show. No, you need Kazarian to have the strap, and I am very happy for Frankie Kazarian, because he is awesome. I think he's got everything. He has all the tools, and I think he's better than he's ever been. He's great on the mic. I love his personality. I love his, kind of, Elvis thing going on. I'm the king of TNA, I love that with the scarf. I love his personality, and I love his character, and he's an excellent wrestler and always has been. And I think he's even better now than ever. He's better, technically, he's got the mat skills, the grappling skills, and he could still do some high-flying stuff. Maybe not like he did when he was 20, but I think he's just at the top of his game, and he belongs being a world champion. He is worthy of being TNA World Champion. So, I kind of hope he still holds on to it for a little bit. maybe at Genesis, say, have the big match, for the TNA World Championship. Maybe you got to get that strap back on Mike Santana, because you screwed him over, everyone was disappointed back at Slammiversary that Santana didn't win. That was supposed to be the big opportunity, because they were in his hometown of New York, And then at Bound for Glory finally gets it, and then at some random show at crappy little Full Sail University, they have him lose it right away. He didn't even get a chance to defend the damn thing. I will say another thing I am kind of worried about is the fact that Nick Nemeth can still call his shot with the Call It Your Shot Gauntlet trophy. So, he at some point he's gonna do it. He's gonna cash in. So, I have a feeling he probably will on Frankie Kazarian, and it'll end up being Nick Nemeth versus Mike Santana. And I don't know how I feel about that, really. I think Kazarian and Santana is a much better, rivalry, A lot more interesting. But they gotta pull something out of their ass on January 15th that needs to be big, Either some big debuts, or I've heard people mention Chris Jericho, because right now Chris Jericho is the biggest free agent in wrestling. Everyone expects him to go to WWE, right? Because, you know, they want to have him do like a retirement tour and, you know, go into the Hall of Fame and all that. But that's the thing, is he ready to do that? So you have to think about that. You know, he might not be ready to leave wrestling just yet. He might think he has several good years left in him, you know. And he has gotten into really good shape again, so, you know, he might think he has quite a while left, you know. That might not actually be the case. I would say he has maybe 2 years left at best, but then who knows, you know, a lot of wrestlers hang around long past their expiration date, you know. But, so yeah. Imagine if he came to TNA instead of WWE. Woo. Because, I mean, they work together anyway, you know. TNA and WWE are working together, so why can't he do both? You know, he could still do the Hall of Fame thing and be a TNA talent, you know, and he could be TNA World Champion, you know. That'd be a great way to put a cap on his career, you know. He's never been to TNA, haven't won the TNA World Champion, and that'd be pretty huge, man. I would love to see that, personally. I still think he's great. He's incredibly charismatic still, you know. He's still got the mic skills. I actually enjoyed his recent character in AEW quite a bit. Is over the top, you know, like, hi, like overly nice, like, hi. It's hilarious. Like, he's always changing his presence. He's always, like, changing his character, you know, to stay relevant, and he always does. That's what's so great about him. So I think if he joined TNA, he would probably make another change and have a whole new different type of character for TNA, you know. That would be cool. So you never know, so never say never. It could happen. A lot of people don't think it's in the cards, but you never know. We know that Carlos Silva said that the TNA and NXT relationship is going to continue. So we are going to see NXT stars on Impact still on AMC Network. So in a way, it's going to be great for those talent, too, to be on a major platform as well, you know. Being on AMC Network in front of, you know, TNA's been having some great crowds lately, and I think this is going to bring the fans in a lot more, and we're going to see more attendance records, you know. I think we're going to start seeing some big crowds in those arenas. So, one thing I have to say to you, TNA, because the last set of tapings you did, not in El Paso, but before that, Full Sail University, I don't want to see you guys ever go to that arena again, or any place like that that has a capacity of 200 fans. I mean, come on. It looks so Bush League. It looks terrible on TV. You can't embarrass AMC like that. You gotta you gotta think big now. No more of these little dinky 200-seat arenas that look like the Moose Lodge or the Elks Lodge or something. I mean, that's indie wrestling stuff. We're not an indie wrestling company anymore. We're stepping into the big time. We are in the limelight now because you're going to be on AMC Network. No more playing around. You got to take this seriously. And, I mean, come on. They've been... Just look at the El Paso, Texas show. They brought in... I don't know, it looked like they had about 2,000 fans or so there. Huge difference between that and Full Sail University. I mean, that's one thing I don't ever want to see again. If I see that again, it's so embarrassing, you know. It's like, come on, you look like an indie show. Ugh. But yeah, and another thing, like a lot of people have been saying, the creative needs to step it up big time because, yeah, the creative has not been there. They have grown in a lot of other ways with the production value and with the attendance numbers, and obviously getting this television deal. And working with WWE has been hugely beneficial to TNA, but what has been lacking is the creative. The storytelling has not been there. So that needs to improve. It has to improve because fans have not been happy. TNA fans have not been happy with the storytelling lately. So, and I know that right now Tommy Dreamer and Delirious have been running the creative, and I think that needs to change. And maybe not necessarily kick them off the team, but they need to bring in some people that are not wrestlers, or ex-wrestlers, Have somebody that's just a writer, Someone that can write stories and write television. Because that's what we need. We need someone that can write a television show, not just a wrestling show. And the fact that they're on a network like AMC where they do great storytelling with obviously incredible shows that they've had over the years, obviously Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and The Walking Dead. Maybe the TNA can actually work with some people like that have worked on shows like that. Someone that knows how to tell a story, Get some cinematic stuff in there, And TNA has always done that for a long time. They've done a lot of cinematic stuff, over the years. So I'd like to see some more of that incorporated into the show. Get some more cinematic storytelling, like remember what they did with the Hardys, with the final deletion, stuff like that. That was really groundbreaking stuff. I'd like to see a little bit of that, brought back. But yeah. There has to be an emphasis on storytelling. There just has to be. And I think that's more important than having, the 5-star matches all the time. And, you can have both. You can have the best of both worlds. They're always going to have great matches, and stuff like the X Division matches and the Ultimate X match and stuff. He's always going to have stuff to look forward to. They got Steel Cage match coming up, which is great to see that coming back. So I would like to see it, as many fans would like to see the Lockdown come back, that was a great pay-per-view with all cage matches. Another thing we need to put emphasis on is the Knockouts division, The Knockouts division has always been something that's been very prominent in TNA Wrestling throughout the years. Has such a rich history, back in the day with Gail Kim taking on Awesome Kong and ODB and the Beautiful People and all that, where, TNA kind of changed the game in women's wrestling, focusing on, women having the wrestling skills and being tough and strong and, having great characters as well and great storytelling, not just showing off their bodies and whatever, which was what WWE was doing back then, with the divas, and not a lot of focus was put on the women's wrestling division as far as women's wrestling, so TNA brought that, and it was great to see. And over the past couple of years, it hasn't quite been at the top like it usually is. Most people look at TNA as being the best women's wrestling division in professional wrestling, but it hasn't been that way in the past couple of years. WWE has been a lot better, AEW has been a lot better, maybe even NWA is probably even better, but yeah, so while they have gotten some great new stars lately, and of course working with the NXT talent has been great too, I think we need to get a couple new faces, a couple big ones, and there needs to be a lot more put into a lot more work put into the characters and the storytelling, and yeah, we need to shape up the Knockouts division a little bit, I think, We need to get it back to prominence, back to being the best women's wrestling division in the world. And I think that is possible, and I think that needs to be a huge focus going forward. Because I think as far as the men's division goes, they already got great talent. I don't think they even need anybody else. Maybe one big star, like I was saying, with, Chris Jericho, just to have something big for the January show. But, they already got great talent. You got Steve Macklin, you got Nick Nemeth, you got Frankie Kazarian, you got Mike Santana, you got Moose, you got The System. There's already great stars there. And they've got great young talent, of course, like the X Division with Leon Slater. I'll tell you one other thing I want to see. I want to see more credit given to AJ Francis. That guy is great, You need to start showing him some respect and giving him some gold, I saw him in a match against Leon Slater at, was it Final Resolution? Excellent match. I mean, this guy is always good, He's got great character. He's so charismatic. And he's great in the ring, He looks like a monster, He's really strong. And, seeing him lose all the time is kind of ridiculous. It almost reminds me of the Big Show back in the day. Like, how is this guy losing? This guy's a monster. It's just not believable. And that's kind of how they treat him almost. It's like they don't. It's like, do they not see how good this guy is? They need to start putting some focus on that guy. Like, start giving him some flowers and some credit, because he can be a big star, I really believe that. So don't sleep on AJ Francis. I'd like to see Rick Swann get back to where he was too. I think he's doing a great job. Him and Leon Slater had one hell of a banger a few weeks ago. But yeah, very, very excited to see what happens on AMC with TNA Wrestling on January 15th, 2026. How about you guys? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below this video. But it's a very exciting time for TNA Wrestling. So much to look forward to. The future is bright, without a doubt. So thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, the Pro Wrestling Chat. Tune in and lock up.